Hey there, folks, and welcome back to Full Spectrum Frontiers. I'm your host, Bennett Tanton, here to break down the complex issues shaping our world so we can navigate them with clarity and confidence. Today, we're diving into a fiery topic. Literally, wildfires have been burning hotter, longer, and more frequently than ever before. Whether it's California, Canada, or even unexpected places like Hawaii, these blazes are destroying more than just land. They're torching lives, economies, and entire ecosystems. But here's the deal. We can't just sit back, point fingers at climate change, and call it a day. Wildfires aren't a single issue problem. It's a cocktail of poor forest management, outdated policies, and yes, changing environmental factors. The good news? There are actionable solutions out there, real strategies that can prevent future infernos if we're willing to implement them. And that's what this episode is all about. We'll start by dissecting why these wildfires are happening at such an alarming rate, what's fueling them, and what's stopping us from putting the brakes on this fiery trend. Then we'll explore cutting-edge prevention techniques, from the ancient practice of controlled burns to high-tech tools like AI fire detection. And finally, we'll zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the policies and cultural shifts that need to happen if we're serious about safeguarding our communities and natural spaces. But before we dive in, I've got a favor to ask. If you find value in today's episode, please take a moment to like, share, and leave a review. It helps the podcast grow and ensures these important conversations reach more people. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Full Spectrum Frontiers. All right, let's fan the flames of curiosity and extinguish some ignorance. Let's get started. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Full Spectrum Frontiers. We've covered a lot of ground, from understanding the root causes of wildfires to exploring prevention strategies and the big picture policies that can make a difference. But here's the takeaway. The wildfire crisis isn't inevitable. It's solvable. It's going to take smarter policies, innovative technology, and most importantly, a collective effort from all of us. As we've seen, it's not just about fighting fires, it's about managing our landscapes, updating our policies, and embracing a cultural shift toward living with fire responsibly. The road ahead isn't easy, but the solutions are there if we're willing to act. Now here's where I need your help. If today's episode sparked something in you, whether it's a new perspective, a sense of urgency, or just an appreciation for the complexity of this issue, do me a favor. Like this episode, share it with a friend, and leave a review. Your feedback helps this podcast grow and ensures these important conversations reach the people who need to hear them. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Full Spectrum Frontiers. We've got a lot more to unpack in the coming weeks, everything from national security challenges to how global conflicts impact your daily life. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and as always, keep pushing the frontiers of knowledge. I'm Bennett Tanton, signing off. See you on the next episode. Wildfires don't just happen. They're not a random act of nature like lightning or a freak meteor shower. These disasters are the product of a perfect storm, a mix of environmental conditions, human mismanagement, and policy oversights. To really understand why wildfires are burning more intensely and frequently than ever before, we need to peel back the layers of this issue. Fueling the flames, mismanaged forests. Let's start with a big one: forest management. Picture this. Our forests are like kindling waiting for a spark. Decades of fire suppression policies have led to overgrown forests packed with dry vegetation. Think of it like stuffing a campfire with way too much wood. It doesn't take much for the whole thing to go up in flames. Here's the kicker. Fire suppression sounds great on paper, right? After all, who wants to let fires burn unchecked? But what that approach misses is the role that smaller, natural fires play in clearing out dead wood and brush, making forests less flammable over time. When we stop these natural processes, we create a stockpile of highly combustible material. It's like building a bonfire and saying, "Don't worry, it'll never ignite." Spoiler alert, it does. Environmental policy. Good intentions, bad outcomes. Now, let's talk about environmental policies, particularly the ones that sound great but don't work in the real world. For example, restrictions on logging and land clearing are often designed to protect ecosystems, and that's important. But when those restrictions are so tight that they prevent responsible thinning of forests, we end up with dense, unhealthy woods that are prone to catastrophic fires. And then there's urban sprawl. More and more people are building homes in fire-prone areas, creating what experts call the wildland-urban interface. It's a fancy way of saying we're living right next to the danger zone. Policies haven't kept up with this trend, meaning there's little guidance or enforcement when it comes to fire-safe building codes or defensible space around properties. Climate patterns, the final piece of the puzzle. Of course, we can't ignore climate patterns. Rising temperatures and prolonged droughts are turning what used to be seasonal fire risks into year-round threats. Add in more frequent wind events, like California's infamous Santa Anas, and you've got the perfect recipe for disaster. But let's be clear, climate change isn't the sole villain here. It's more like an accelerant. The real issue is how unprepared we are to deal with these conditions. The forests, the policies, and the infrastructure, they're all primed to fail when the heat turns up. A wake-up call in numbers. If you're a numbers person, here's some perspective. In the United States alone, wildfires burned over 7.6 million acres in 2023. That's larger than the state of Massachusetts. And while the financial toll is staggering, billions of dollars in damages, the human cost is even harder to quantify. Families losing homes, firefighters risking their lives, ecosystems being wiped out. It's devastation on every level. The common denominator. When you step back, a pattern emerges. Wildfires are a symptom of broader systemic issues. They expose our inability to balance human needs with environmental realities. Whether it's poor forest management, restrictive policies, or climate impacts, the root cause is the same: short-term thinking. We've spent decades ignoring the signals, and now we're paying the price. Up next, we'll look at how we can turn the tide with prevention strategies that don't just reduce the risk, but actively reshape how we coexist with fire-prone landscapes. Stick with me. This is where it gets both practical and exciting. Now that we've identified what's fueling the wildfire crisis, let's dive into solutions. Spoiler alert, there's no single magic fix. It's a multi-pronged approach combining traditional methods, cutting-edge technology, and policy reforms. But here's the good news. Each of these strategies is actionable, and together they could reshape how we manage wildfires for generations to come. Controlled burns, fighting fire with fire. Controlled burns or prescribed fires are one of the oldest and most effective wildfire prevention tools. Indigenous communities have used them for centuries to manage forests and grasslands. The logic is simple. By intentionally burning small controlled sections of land, you remove the fuel that could ignite in a larger, uncontrollable blaze. But here's the catch. Controlled burns require expertise, resources, and public trust. Nobody wants to hear, "Hey, we're setting the forest on fire on purpose," even if it's for a good reason. A single mistake can lead to disaster, as we've seen in rare cases. Still, when done correctly, prescribed burns can drastically reduce wildfire risks while promoting healthier ecosystems. In fact, areas managed with controlled burns often fare much better when wildfires do break out. Mechanical thinning, the hands-on approach. If burning isn't an option or the terrain isn't conducive to it, mechanical thinning steps in. This involves physically removing excess vegetation like dead trees and brush to reduce fuel loads. Think of it as giving the forest a much-needed haircut. One promising method is using machines like masticators, which chew through dense undergrowth and turn it into mulch. This not only reduces fire risks, but also provides valuable material for bioenergy. It's a win-win, but like controlled burns, it's resource-intensive. Funding and manpower remain significant challenges. High-tech solutions, fire prevention 2.0. Enter the world of technology, where innovation meets disaster prevention. Here are some of the cutting-edge tools making waves in wildfire management. AI-driven detection systems. Artificial intelligence is now being used to monitor forests for signs of fire, like smoke or heat anomalies. These systems can analyze satellite imagery and alert authorities within minutes, potentially stopping fires before they spread. Drones. Equipped with infrared cameras, drones can scout remote or dangerous areas, providing real-time data to firefighters. Some are even being tested to drop fire retardant in hard-to-reach spots. Fire-resistant building materials. For communities in high-risk areas, technology is also making homes more resilient. Fire-resistant siding, roofing, and windows can slow the spread of flames and protect lives. The catch? These technologies are expensive and often limited to well-funded regions. Expanding their availability will require significant investment and collaboration between governments, private companies, and local communities. Zoning and land use policies, the unsexy solution. Let's talk policy. Because as unexciting as it sounds, smarter zoning and land use regulations can have a huge impact. For starters, enforcing defensible space requirements around homes can make a massive difference. This means clearing flammable vegetation within a certain radius and using fire-resistant landscaping. Then there's the question of where we're building in the first place. In many cases, homes are being constructed in fire-prone areas without adequate infrastructure or escape routes. By updating zoning laws and offering incentives for fire-safe development, we can reduce the risks before they become realities. Community education. Knowledge is power. Prevention isn't just a government job, it's a community effort. Educating people about fire safety can save lives and property. Programs like Ready, Set, Go teach residents how to prepare for wildfires, including creating evacuation plans and assembling emergency kits. Public buy-in is critical. When communities understand the risks and take proactive steps, they become part of the solution rather than passive victims. Imagine if every homeowner in a high-risk area cleared brush, maintained fire-resistant landscaping, and stayed informed about local fire conditions. The collective impact would be enormous. The elephant in the room: funding and prioritization. None of these strategies come cheap. Controlled burns, mechanical thinning, and advanced technology all require money, training, and political will. And let's face it, wildfire prevention isn't always a priority until it's too late. We spend billions fighting fires, but comparatively little on preventing them. It's time to flip that script. Think of prevention as an investment, not an expense. Every dollar spent reducing wildfire risk can save multiple dollars in firefighting costs, not to mention the priceless value of lives, homes, and ecosystems saved. The big picture. Integrating strategies. The most effective wildfire prevention plan isn't about choosing one method over another. It's about combining them in a way that addresses local needs and conditions. A fire-prone region in California might rely on controlled burns and AI detection, while a mountainous area in Montana might prioritize mechanical thinning and community education. The key is flexibility and collaboration. Federal, state, and local governments need to work together with private organizations, nonprofits, and the communities themselves. Wildfires don't recognize borders, so our solutions can't be siloed. We've covered a lot here, everything from ancient practices to futuristic tech. But prevention is only part of the story. In the next section, we'll zoom out to look at the broader policies and cultural shifts needed to make these strategies a reality. Stick around, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Now that we've broken down the nuts and bolts of wildfire prevention, it's time to zoom out and ask the bigger questions. How do we turn these ideas into action? What cultural and policy changes need to happen to move the needle? Spoiler, it's going to take all of us, policymakers, communities, and individuals working together to tackle this head on. Policy reform, building a fire-smart nation. First things first, we need smarter policies. Let's start with forest management. For years, federal and state agencies have been hamstrung by outdated rules that make it nearly impossible to thin forests or conduct prescribed burns at the scale needed. Environmental impact studies, while important, often take years to complete, delaying crucial work. We need to streamline these processes without sacrificing environmental oversight. Then there's funding. Wildfire prevention programs are chronically underfunded compared to firefighting efforts. It's like spending all your money fixing a broken dam instead of reinforcing it before it bursts. A shift in budget priorities, allocating more resources to prevention, isn't just smart, it's essential. Public-private partnerships, innovation through collaboration. One promising avenue is collaboration between governments and private industry. Companies specializing in technology, forestry, and construction can bring innovative solutions to the table. Imagine if Silicon Valley put half as much effort into wildfire detection as it does into making the next viral app. AI-driven fire monitoring systems, drone technology, and fire-resistant materials could all scale faster with public-private partnerships. At the same time, the private sector benefits from stable ecosystems and communities. Wildfires disrupt supply chains, damage infrastructure, and hurt local economies. It's in everyone's interest to invest in prevention. The role of local communities. Here's where the rubber meets the road. Policies and technology mean nothing if communities don't embrace them. Local governments need to enforce fire-safe building codes and zoning regulations. Homeowners need to take responsibility for maintaining defensible space and using fire-resistant materials. But let's be real, this is easier said than done. Many communities in fire-prone areas lack the resources or knowledge to make these changes. That's where education and outreach come in. Programs like Community Wildfire Protection Plans, CWPPs, bring together residents, firefighters, and local officials to create tailored strategies for reducing risk. A cultural shift living with fire. One of the biggest challenges we face is changing how we think about wildfires. For too long, the narrative has been about fighting fire, an adversarial approach that sees every flame as an enemy to be extinguished. But fire is a natural part of many ecosystems. The goal shouldn't be to eliminate it entirely, but to learn how to live with it responsibly. This requires a cultural shift, one that embraces proactive measures like controlled burns and vegetation management. It also means recognizing that some wildfires are inevitable and planning accordingly. Evacuation routes, emergency supplies, and community drills can save lives when the worst happens. Climate resilience. The long game. Let's talk climate resilience. While wildfires aren't caused solely by climate change, rising temperatures and prolonged droughts exacerbate the problem. Addressing these underlying conditions is a long-term challenge, but it's one we can't ignore. Investing in renewable energy, water conservation, and sustainable agriculture can help mitigate climate impacts over time. And while these efforts might seem disconnected from wildfire prevention, they're all part of the same bigger picture, creating a world where human activity and natural systems coexist in balance. Individual responsibility. What can you do? Here's the part where you come in. Yes, you listening right now. Wildfire prevention isn't just a government problem or a firefighter problem. It's everyone's problem. Whether you live in a wildfire-prone area or not, there are steps you can take to help. If you own property, maintain defensible space around your home and invest in fire-resistant materials. Get involved in local fire safety initiatives like community wildfire protection plans. Stay informed. Understanding the risks and knowing what to do in an emergency can make all the difference. Advocate for better policies. Write to your local representatives and push for increased funding and smarter forest management. Balancing hope and reality. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Wildfires are a tough problem. They're expensive, dangerous, and not going away anytime soon. But here's the thing. We're not powerless. Every controlled burn, every updated zoning law, every new piece of technology gets us one step closer to a safer, more sustainable future. The key is action. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. It's going to take bold decisions, hard work, and a willingness to change the way we think about fire. But if we're willing to put in the effort, we can protect lives, property, and ecosystems for generations to come. Coming up in the outro, I'll tie it all together and leave you with a call to action that you won't want to miss.
It's just you, me, and the odds. We stuck together, we two peas in a pod. You dealt a bad hand, I'm there seizing the cards. We'll never be separated till we see in the gods. We've been low together, high forever. Long as we go together, we'll die whenever. Be a light, couldn't let the darkness try you ever. Truth in my word, you I lie to never. And when the world gets a little too hard, wipe your eyes, put away your sorrow. When it's war, I'll be leading the charge, and I'll be still fighting for you tomorrow. Yeah, even with a blindfold or in different time zones, could find my way to you with my eyes closed. There's nothing between us. Go to Mars and Venus, stand in front of every one of them rocks they slimming and being shit. Yeah.